What's going on, guys? My name is Tegan with Solar Performance. Today we're going to be working on this 2025 C8 E-Ray hardtop convertible. So we're going to be showing you guys how to install our 91mm ported throttle body on a hardtop convertible. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is, especially since this is a hardtop convertible, the way we're gonna take this process is we're actually gonna take off the rear hatch. So you have two options. You can take off the hatch, or you can kind of flip-flop and go either way and let it go up, and you have to close this since we can't have both of these open at the same time. So for this process, we're gonna take the hatch off because it's gonna give me a lot more clearance, and I won't have to worry about closing this and then opening that and then closing that and opening this during the entire process. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a Sharpie and we're gonna come over here to our bolts and we're gonna mark around them so that when we take this off and wanna put it back on, we have all of our outlines done so that we don't have to worry about incorrect panel gaps and we don't have to worry about fitment issues because we are taking off an entire panel. We're also going to want to mark this hatch release as well so that whenever we take this off, we can put it back into the clamp as well. Now we're gonna go ahead and get towards taking and getting this into service mode. And it's pretty simple. All you're gonna do is double click the lock button and then you're gonna wanna hold down the convertible button on your key fob, and that's actually going to lift this and put it into service mode. All right, so now that we already got this in service mode, I'm gonna do my plan of attack down here first. So we're gonna get the carpet liner out. I'm gonna work on getting the cover out that's covering the airbox. I'm gonna work on trying to get all the intake scoops on each side of the airbox, get that taken care of. And then we're gonna work on getting over to the engine cover and getting all the things in the engine side done. And then we'll come back and get to the rest of the airbox. We'll go ahead and get our carpet out. And once we've got the carpet out, we can get access to the cover. So our next step, we're gonna go ahead and get all these T15 screws for this airbox cover. Once we do that, that's gonna give us access to our airbox. So we'll go ahead and get this taken care of. So while we're back here, I'm just gonna go ahead and take off these couplers here. These are held on by 4 10mm screws on each side. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of these since we're here. And then once we get these done, we'll head up to the front and get going on the engine cover. So you will have a hard time getting your Christmas trees out on the front side and the back side of your airbox. Just take your time with it as much as you can because you don't want to risk breaking these. But in the instance that you do, it's not that big of a deal as well because a lot of these will hold their place no matter. But we still want to be careful no matter what, just so we don't have to run that risk. So now that we got our two bottom Christmas trees out, there is a connection down here Now this actually can be popped out like so while you retain everything. I would not recommend unplugging it because this piece, as you can see how easily it comes out, actually can fall out and fall down onto the, the skid plate down there, and you'll never see it again. So I always recommend just pulling this out completely just to reduce that risk and just so that everything stays connected. All right, so now that we've completed everything on the back end that we can so far, we're gonna come up to the front and we're gonna get this engine cover off. So this is held on by 18 T15 bits. We're gonna take all these off and then I'm gonna show you how to actually remove this plate safely. So to take this off, we're gonna wanna lift this up just a little bit. And once we get it fully lifted, we're gonna pull it back here so we have enough space to pull it up. So again, you're gonna wanna push it back and then angle it up just so we can get this out, and be careful not to touch anything and scratch anything up, especially this plate. So now that we got the cover off, we're gonna come over here to our coolant reservoir. You have one 10mm nut here. We're gonna take that out. Once we have that out, we can actually pull the reservoir a little bit towards us, and you're gonna wanna make sure there's a little bit of a guide in the back side. So you'll see there's this insert pin, or this little plastic insert that goes to this hole. You're gonna pull that out and rotate it towards your right, towards the actual car, or towards the passenger seat. And then we can actually set that like so on our intake manifold. And these lines they're made to be rotated around. They're quick releases, so you can actually rotate the hoses without damaging anything. So first thing we're gonna do after we've got our coolant reservoir moved is we're gonna disconnect our throttle body. And while we're at it, there you have a MAF sensor right here on the coupler. We're gonna pull back our gray tab and we're gonna release this as well. Now that we got that released, we're also gonna work and come up onto the top of the airbox. You have a connection up here. Pull back our red tab, get that connection undone. Okay, once we've got that connection undone, you have two connections back here on the back side of your actual airbox. What you can do is, instead of actually disconnecting them, we can slide these off. You have to figure out which way. So now that we've taken off a few of our connections for the MAF, throttle body, and our top connection on top of the airbox, we're gonna focus down on our T30 bits that are holding the airbox in place. So you have one on the driver's side and passenger side. Right now we're looking at the driver's side. It's gonna be the same thing over on the passenger side, but we'll go ahead and show you that. So we're gonna go ahead and get these out, and then once we have those out, I'll show you the process of getting the rest of the connections undone and the rest of the Christmas trees. So what I'm gonna use here is just a small ratchet, and I've got our T30 bit on here. I'm gonna go ahead and go down here and loosen it up. Now you can also reach it from this actual hole here if you have a bunch of extensions. I didn't have enough extensions, so I'm just gonna come down here and hand do it, hand untighten it, and then get it out. But if you do have enough extensions, you can reach all the way from this top point all the way down and do it. But you still have a lot of space down here to do it by hand, so it shouldn't be too bad. And especially if the car's cold, it will be no problem since you're not having to worry about getting burned up by the cats. So once you get those loosened up, you can actually get those out by hand. For me, it's a little easier to do it by hand just because I don't have enough extension, but you still have plenty of room to go down there and do that. So I'll go ahead and get the other side done. We'll show you how to do that, and then we'll get the rest of our connections done. So when you're working on your passenger side, you are gonna notice there is a hose, a vacuum line, and a harness there. You're gonna wanna try to move these harnesses around so you can free up that space so you can actually see the bolt, the T30 bit bolt down there. So move those around, do what you can. I put a little bit of an extension for this one on this side just so that I can bypass, any of those harnesses and hoses, because they are tight and so they will want to go back in place. But try and get them moved around, because with the extension, it's already helped a lot. I've already got it on, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this off now so we can get on over to our next step. So with these connections here, you can actually slide them off, but I'm not able to get them off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just take my Christmas tree puller and pop these guys off real quick. just so that I'm not fighting them too bad. And once I get them off, we can just discard them to the side. So there's one, and then I'm gonna work over here and get that one. And then after I get that, we're gonna work on getting all the rest of the Christmas trees off on the back side of our box. All right, so on your passenger side, you're gonna have 2 Christmas trees that are sat up on the back side of your box. So you're gonna see that big cylinder there that's got some chrome wrapping on it, some heat wrap on there. So there's 2 Christmas trees that are holding harnesses back there. So we're gonna wanna take those guys off. And then also on each bottom side of the intake box, you have 2 Christmas trees that are pushed in this way. So you have your box here, and they're both on each end on the bottom in this direction in. So you're gonna wanna take both of those Christmas trees out, and then you also still have a couple more Christmas trees on our driver's side, and we'll go over those and get those out. All right, so now we're on our driver's side, and you can see we have 1 Christmas tree here, and there's another one just down there. And then I can also show you those 2 that I was talking about earlier. If you see that orange one all the way down here, yeah, so that bottom Christmas tree down there was a little bit harder to capture. I tried getting as much as I could, but you'll see it's an orange Christmas tree. It's on both sides, like I was saying previously. It's a lot easier to see on our driver's side comparison to our passenger side. So you're gonna wanna have to take those out because that will completely restrict your airbox from being able to get out from our rear side. So the next thing we're gonna do before we get everything out, especially the intake box, we're gonna wanna take off this line here that goes into our coupler, and we're gonna wanna loosen up our coupler off the throttle body so we can actually pull our box out. For that line that's on our coupler, all you wanna do is press in on that and you can release it completely, and then we're gonna get our coupler clamp taken off and we'll be able to pull our box back. Another thing to help with actually getting the intake box out is taking off our front coupler. We had to do that post the process before we even got the box out. This is gonna help a lot whenever getting everything out because you can actually twist it up and down whenever you need because you won't be worried about actually making contact on anything with the coupler. And then in the end, we also didn't have to do this or take this off. So don't worry about taking this front piece off. I actually had a Christmas tree that had reinserted itself back into the rear of the box and did not want to come undone, and I didn't know that, so I was just tugging on a Christmas tree. So make sure all your Christmas trees are out and you won't have to do what I did. So now that we got the airbox off, we finally got access to our throttle body. And when you're taking your airbox off, don't forget to take all the Christmas trees out because we fought this one for 30 minutes and there was one Christmas tree that had somehow put its way back in. So make sure everything's out and you can end up getting the box out properly and you don't have to fight it. So, but now we're gonna go ahead and get in here, get this throttle body out and put in our 91 mil. Alrighty, so now that we've got everything ready, we're gonna go ahead and throw on our 91 mil and go ahead and get 1 screw threaded on there just so that we can hold our throttle body up to give us a chance to grab the rest of our screws. And I like to throw on the throttle body from the back side just so that you're not having to bend over the back of your trunk or back of the, the rear end of your car and have to reach all the way over. It makes it a little bit easier when you can do it right here and you won't have to worry about breaking your back. So before we put the airbox in, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the coupler on the throttle body. Since we are working with limited space, we're gonna put it on the throttle body, and then once we get the intake in, we can actually work the intake coupling, as you saw, or the intake box pipe, and we can put that into the coupler. All right, now that we've got our throttle body on, we're gonna go ahead and get our intake box put back in without the coupler. So first thing we're gonna wanna do is we're going to angle this guy all the way down, slip it in like so, and then we can actually end up rotating it back in under each scoop. And with enough time and shimmy, we can get it right into place. So once we've got everything buttoned up on our rear end, we're just gonna go ahead. What I'm doing first is I'm gonna go ahead and complete our entire rear end except our hatch cover. We're just gonna get everything we can so that once we're done here, we can finish everything up top, close this, and put our rear hatch on. All right, so now that we got everything put together, we went ahead and lined up our rear hatch. And remember, when those marked circles, you want to try to get it as perfect as possible. You can see our lines. We did pretty good on this one. It's almost perfect.
I still think there's little adjustments, but they all think it looks good.
So after our idle sequence, you're gonna do a couple of drive cycles. We're gonna be keeping it under 44 miles an hour. You don't have to specifically keep it under that, but we recommend that. You're gonna do a bunch of start and stops. So go to a bunch of stop signs, drive, let it stop, watch the idle, let that idle bring back down, make sure it's going down in a smooth pattern. You're gonna do that for about 100 to 150 miles. And during that process, your throttle body is going to relearn and the car is going to relearn the new airflow patterns. So that increase in airflow, the ECM is going to take its time. It's going to make its changes, its adjustments, and post that, your throttle body is fully calibrated. All right, so now that we got the car started, what we're gonna do during this idle sequence is we're gonna watch our idle. We're gonna make sure it's sitting around 600 to 650. So in this marked range that we're seeing right now, that is what we want to see. And we're gonna make sure our idle isn't fluctuating going up or down. We wanna make sure there's no check engine lights. As you can see, we have no check engine lights. Now we're gonna go on a quick little drive cycle. All that you need to do is your regular everyday city driving. You're gonna do that for 150 to 300 miles, and that's all it takes to do the drive cycle. All right, so that concludes our 91mm throttle body install for the C8 hardtop convertibles. This applies for Z06s, Stingrays, and of course the E-Ray. A lot of them are the exact same, except for the Z06, it's gonna be a twin throttle body setup. So a lot of that is gonna be generally the same. And of course, remember to keep going on your drive cycle. Don't cut it short. Make sure you do it the full length, because the more time it gets to relearn, the better. And so that is it. That concludes our install. If you guys have any questions, anything like that, don't forget to reach out and give us a call, email, anything like that. You can find my email on the website in the contact form. My name is Tegan. My phone number is there as well, but if you need to reach anybody else, we have numbers on there readily available. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure to comment below, give us a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.